Good morning. We have with us Professor Sudhir, who is the Professor of Information Systems at MYRA School of Business. He taught us the e-commerce course for the PGPX 2014 batch and the PGDM 2013 to 15 batch. Thank you, Professor. First of all, we'd like to know what was your teaching experience with the current batch at MYRA?
It's been a good learning experience. What I'm finding is that the way you would build a case, come up with an idea, take it to fruition, some of those principles are applicable here too. But the way you do it, how you present it, how it registers in the minds of students and how they react back to that. And of course, all this help you in changing your course as you go along. And in that sense, it's been a very good learning experience for me. And there is always a joy in having students react to what you say, what you teach, and then come back and say, okay, oh, this I didn't know, I know this now. So in that sense, it's been very rewarding too.
You've been educated at one of the most prestigious institutes in the world, in Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, and you've worked at some of the most leading organizations in their culture. How do you rate our students with the peer group which you had?
I probably should compare the MBA students, I was with the PhD group, who are a separate class with themselves. I would say in terms of raw material, we are very comparable, what we get here and what we saw out there. Second thing is that learning from there and having been educated here too, one of the things I would try to do is to bring some of those teaching methods, some of those ideas out here. Where I see some of the difference is in getting our students to be opening up. Perhaps, we can go back to inadequacies of Indian undergraduate education and things like that, which have been analyzed a lot. But some of it you can actually see. The way I see it is, all the students here at a minimum have done an undergraduate degree somewhere. So you are all graduate students. So in that sense, I see MBA as getting a degree and going for job prospects. Also a time where you can be intellectually adventurous. And this is where the difference I see between then and here. Their students have been brought up along that line of thinking right from the high school perhaps, where they can come out, try their new ideas, perhaps disagree with the professor and have an intellectual argument and prove their point. I would say argument, it's a discussion where the student also learns from professor learns. And this approach and attitude of being open-minded, being willing to try things. Yes, all of you have to take your exams, pass and get good grades and all. But part of that is what are the things new things you have learned, and also this is your chance to try them out in the academic world. In the real life also you would like to try many things, but there are constraints. The financial constraints, your company has its limitations and things like that. This is a forum, this is an opportunity for students to be intellectually adventurous. And getting students to think along those lines has been the challenge. And this is where perhaps the big difference between there and here I see. It's changing and we'll try to do our best to make that change. But the difference, as you have asked, is that's where I see the difference. In terms of raw material itself perhaps, not so much. It's in where we have come from and where we want to go. That's where I see.
From your vast experience, what advice would you like to give to our students?
Pretty much I can continue on the same question for the last one. Be adventurous. I don't mean being reckless. For example, if you are asked a question, what would you do differently, for example? Much of business education is based on case studies. We do look at what somebody else has done. As an aside, in fact, is some of the criticisms against management studies that we always study what somebody else has done. So, following from that, I would say yes, we will present case studies with you. But then when we ask, what will you do differently? Feel free. Remember, when you are in this academic environment, it's an experiment. You can feel free. And many of those ideas, based on your experience and what faculty inputs they can give, may come to fruition. For example, at Rensselaer, in the year I joined, 4 students did a class project, which became a company called MapInfo, and Microsoft bought that company, and it became part of Microsoft Maps. So it was just a class project. And that's what I would like to do among my students. one day I would like to say that, yes, my students founded this and look where we are. That would be my advice.
Thank you very much, Professor. It was a pleasure having you at part of our e-commerce class. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Me too.